Welcome back to another episode of NBL Now. As promised, around this moment in the off-season, we're going to start making our way around the country, around the league, catch up with all the clubs to see how things are faring currently and the future plans heading towards NBL 26. And right now we head down to the City of Churches, the Adelaide 36ers. Matt Weston, nice enough to join me. Matt, thank you firstly for jumping on. I know it's going to be a nice chat because obviously when there's big moves, whether it's your club, whether it's other moves, your names always seem to pop up. And right now it obviously has with the Kendric Davis signing to Sydney Kings. But firstly, how are you doing and how's everything coming along?
Yeah, hey mate, how are you? Thanks for having us. Doing well. As you can see behind me, the weather's great. Adelaide's been going through a nice warm spell, and I think we've done well through free agency. It's quite a unique sort of free agents group this year, and I really think that we've come out of that well with a couple of really good, role player signings, and then a key one in getting Flynn.
We're going to chat about those because they are big, some local talent returning, and we talk about players in that role player kind of mentality to have a chip on their shoulder, need a change of scenery, and I think you've done that well. But as I mentioned off the top, the big one obviously this week with Kendric Davis, and you can see from fans, and fans don't understand, I guess, the business side of pro sports to the nth degree. They would understand it a little bit, but they would be thinking it's going to be interesting to see Kendric Davis running around in a Sydney Kings jersey right now.
Yeah, no, it is, right? Because, you sort of cast your mind back and you come to the sort of, start of last season and no one knew of Kendric, right? And so he came in unknown. He worked his tail off and proved himself. And that's the business. And we're in it as well. It's not like we don't look at other players on other teams. You do. And, the Kings see a value in him and coming in. They've got a real dynamic duo there that they see between him and Delhi. And when they signed Delhi, I didn't think they would go down that path, and they have, and that's fine. They're obviously building to that way. It will be a little unusual to see him there, but best of luck and best wishes, and to them all.
The biggest part, I guess, for a general manager, and when you're putting together an off season, and I spoke about this on a lot of marketplaces, where the plans for each season don't start when the year finishes. Whenever you get knocked out of finals, whether you make it or not, that's not when the off-season starts. It can sometimes start 2 to 3 years prior to that when you're looking at certain contract obligations. It was obviously reported about your desire to bring Kendric back, but probably from a fan's point of view, I'm assuming that from a GM's whiteboard, it not so much didn't leave you shocked, but it's like you're prepared. You're always going to be prepared for what's next if we don't get Kendric.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to have that, right? You always look at it and sort of think, if this lever pulls, what do we do to compensate that? And I went and saw Kendric in China and spent some time with him there and know there was massive money on the table and knew where he wanted to get to and was like, what do we do here? I think if we could do 3 years, we could build into something. But, the 1 year for us was probably not going to, get us to where we want to be because, as you can see, we've probably gone through a bit of a reset here to what we've done. And so we're starting to build into what we're doing. But you're right. It's not something that you sort of finish the season and say, right, what's for the next 6 months. It's a few things that you're obviously watching, different people coming off different contracts and where they are at their time in their career and how that would help. So, you've got that on the board and things can happen. We're well and truly prepared.
You talk about now finding talent, and you mentioned how nobody knew in the NBL landscape who Kendric Davis was. Now, I'm not saying he found a diamond in the rough because he wasn't the right. He's very good from where we already saw in college, his first year pro. Yeah. But you unmasked something to NBL fans in this unbelievable talent in Kendric Davis. Looking now for that next talented piece to fit the Adelaide 36ers going forward. What are you looking at? Are we looking at the NBA list that a lot of people put together of those fringe guys? We talk about Montrez that you managed to bring in last year as well. How do you weigh all that up and what pieces are you looking for? And is there a lot of luck involved when you're trying to nail pieces like that?
For me, a lot of luck is involved. And I think there is in anything. I've got some businesses as well, and there's luck involved in that. But it's the work that you put in, and then the luck comes your way. You played, and yourself, if you've got energy on the court, the 50-50 ball bounces your way, not against you. And those are the things. So business is the same, and this is the same. And I think it comes to a point, are you willing to take a risk? Yeah. Now, for me, the risk with bringing Kendric in, a lot of people said, too young, Only 1 year out, those sorts of things. Those things excite me, but because as much as you say, all right, he's not 28, 29 and done 4 years of pro, he's inexperienced that way. I also think that he doesn't have the scar tissue of some of those 4 years of different coaches and different situations that you can actually mold someone. So I look at the NCAA. I like to look at that to say, is there someone again that we can bring straight out? And what that looks like, or do you go to someone that's been 2-3 years in a league and where that has been? You do look, and I've been looking at the fringe NBA guys. I look a lot at the G League and the NCAA, and you look through the season. I'm looking at them to sort of get a feel of where they're at. Are they legitimate chance to get a two-way again next year? And if they're not, then they're in our price range. Right, they're actually then going, okay, and what we sell them on is look at what happened with Kendrick. He came in here, he went to China and made a packet load of money after us, and he's gone on. Right now, this is what I'm saying to people: we can actually develop you and get you to that platform. This is what we can do here.
It is tough. You mentioned the two-way thing, especially with imports, and we spoke last year. We're in Summer League in Vegas, and Summer League's rolling around again. But if you wait too long, and that guy who could potentially get a two-way, then you missed out on options B, C, and D. You talk about luck involved. There is a lot of it because we understand that a lot of players at Summer League, whether their agents are even there, whether they're playing.
Yeah.
You talked about the NBA side and the G League side as well. So for the fans, maybe, is there a strong – what can you give me, not names, but maybe a percentage chance that one of the two imports you're looking at might have an NBA prior experience?
Yeah, I would say there's a good chance that probably both will, and we will look at 3 imports. We will fill it out with 3, and I'd say 2 of them would have that. And you're dead right because of the timing, because NBA starts so much later than what we do, and you've got your two ways, you've got your Exhibit 10s, right? And those guys are going along thinking, I've got a chance in this. So let's go back, and what I do is have relationships with the GMs at both NBA and the G League level. And they'll realistically tell you, yeah, he's got a shot, or no, he hasn't. Now, the agent's obviously going to be telling him, I think I can get you here and there. And that's always not an easy thing to do with the agent to say, and the player to say, mate, you're probably not going to. But if you came to our league, you're actually going to play in games that matter, not G League games. And if you can do it like Kendrick has, things open up for you. They really do. So I think a lot of that, like you said, you've got A and then you've got B, C, D, and E. It comes down to who blinks first. You know, do you want to have the courage to sit there and say, I'm going to wait, or no, I'm going to move on? And it comes down to your network of people saying, oh, no, he might be a shot for a two-way still. Then you pretty much put a line through it because we have to.
For sure. And again, it's not just you with the connections there. Mike Wells has an unbelievable resource over there as well that I'm sure you're talking to. So before we talk about some of the other local pieces and the excitement building around this Adelaide roster, what's the number one priority? You talk about getting that MVP, all NBL first team level guard, or is it a 4-man? If you had to pick one of the imports that you're saying, this is the one, we're going to go out and make the biggest splash, the biggest piece of noise, which one would it be?
I would say the 4. I think the 4, the way we're going to play, will be quick. We're going to shoot lots of threes. You can tell by how I've recruited. Everyone can shoot. We want the 4 that can shoot. And the 4 is an expensive piece. They are the one out there which Japan want, China want. So we're dealing with that as well. There's also a lot more guys at 6 foot in the world than there are 6'8", 6'10" in the world that can shoot, right? So your market goes from this to that. So that does make it a little bit harder. And if you look at the teams around when they've won, what have they had? They've had something around the 4 piece, and that's generally, Xavier Cooks, Jack McVeigh's, right? You look at that. So that's probably what I'd do there. And just because I think if you can solidify that position, we can go with the 1. Mike Wells knows everyone in the NBA, so we're scouring that to be able to get a good sort of feel on what we want out of those positions.
Yeah, it is exciting, as I said. And I'm glad you brought up the importance of the power forward spot, because we harp on it every year and we sound like a broken record, but it has proven to lead to some success. The biggest off-season signing for the 36ers so far has been Flynn Cameron, and it was reported 5 teams wanted him. 5 teams, especially New Zealand breakers, obviously wanted to get him back home to New Zealand. But the Adelaide 36ers got it done. Now, we haven't seen anywhere close to the full potential of what Flynn Cameron's capable of. We saw the little bit. We saw the improvement in the 2 years at Melbourne, understandably behind some unbelievable veteran guards, which he learned from. But how excited are you to have got him over the line?
Yeah, look, we're really relieved. And I spoke to Dan, who represents Flynn, and said, look, we really want to, go through this process. And he said, look, the key's going to be, obviously you got the financial part, but the playing, right? He needs to play. And like you said, he was just unfortunate circumstance in a great club at Melbourne, but just behind super players that have still got mileage to go yet. Yeah. And he just needed to break out of that. So one thing Dan said was, do your recruiting pitch and show him the love. And so, we flipped the coin and Mike, get on a plane and go to New Zealand and go do it. And Wellesley did. And, Wellesley's good at, the recruitment piece. And Mike did all the right things. And after he had the meeting, he said, look, I think we're in a good spot. But we knew that New Zealand, because of the new ownership and Boucher's there, and, Dylan's going to, really bring those guys home. I was like, geez, this could be a tough one. It really could. But, we believe that we put something to him that he obviously said, yeah, I like that. And it was big for us because he's got a good 6, 7, 8 years ahead of him, right? And that's the exciting part. And, he spoke with my assistant coach, Marco, who's back in Serbia. Flynn and Marco had a 2-hour conversation on the phone about, basketball, Europe. Flynn loves the European style. So there was a lot of synergies there that worked well for us.
It's going to be exciting to see. And as you said, to get him for a multi-year deal, knowing that whatever we get next year is just the initial piece of the Flynn Cameron blossoming. So I'm looking forward to seeing this. He's one of the most exciting players in the league. Yep. Around that, you've added to the depth, which at times was a big concern last year. And you could see that other teams took advantage of the lack thereof of impact guys. But you've brought back some local talent in Michael Harris, Isaac White, guys who have been looking for an extra opportunity, a change of scenery. You must be excited with these two pieces as well.
Yeah, really excited. Isaac White, I first saw him play against us down in Mount Gambier in the preseason. And I remember Kendric talking to me saying, who's that guy? He's like tough as hell. And I was like, yeah. And then they're like, he's the Adelaide guy. And I was like, oh my God, why haven't we got him? And he actually comes from the same club that my daughters play at, right? Local club. So there's all these synergies there. And a super, the research you're doing to Isaac, high character, really high IQ, good EQ. So really ticks those boxes, professional. So he'll be not only good on the court, but that culture piece off it, the connection to Adelaide is really important. Mike Harris for us is like a microwave. He can come on and he's just that instant offense. What I liked, and I spoke to JR about this just today actually, was they used him also as a primary defender. So he came on off the bench. He'd be Markham Walton Jr., Jalen Adams, Kendrick. He was out there doing that, which is always good to have that ability, to have a guy. And when we watched him on clips on defense, he knew what he was doing. He wasn't like caught out ever on a call and, a late switch. So he's got good IQ there. So I think they're going to be really good pieces for us.
They really are, and it's all coming together, as I said, to add to that depth of the way that you're clearly trying to play. And so on that, the last point would be you've already got two of the best marquees, when one of the best local big men in Isaac Humphries and one of the best local shooters in Vasiljevic. How important is it to prioritise them of saying, okay, we've got these two pieces locked in, and now when we're looking to add the point guard, the power forward, the third import, all of that, it's complementing what we already have and not just going out there saying, you're the most talented, we'll get you, we'll make it work.
Yeah, absolutely. So DJ's a shooter, right? He does it extremely well from distance. He can stretch the floor. And Mike wants to go, right, how do we play 4 out and let Isaac operate in the paint on his own? When you look back to last season, I really started with 2 5s, and that made it a bit clunky. So now you go, well, Ice, you're in the middle and you're doing your short rolls, you're diving on the rim, those types of things, because we're going to have 4 guys out in the perimeter that can all shoot. So you're either getting your way inside or we're kicking it and we're into the paint, catch, pitch and shoot. So Mike Wells is obviously the architect of that. Yeah, he says, I want to play lots of threes. Great. We've got DJ. He's not going to have to be told to shoot the ball. He's the shooter. So that's great. And we're bringing Isaac White, who can shoot the ball. Harris can shoot the ball. Flynn can shoot the ball, right? And everyone that we've got coming through this can shoot. So I think that's where you go, well, we've got these pieces. How do we get the most out of them? And what we do is we don't focus on what people can't do, right? Because we're not the NBA. It's like when you're looking at imports, you can get so caught up on what they can't do. It's like, but if they could do those things, they'd be in the NBA. They wouldn't be on my price, on my shopping list. So what can they do well, and how do you put them in a position to do well? And that's the same with the marquees.
And is that probably the toughest reason when you're looking at building on from last year was everyone wants to see Montrezl Harrell back in the league. We saw how dominant he could be. But rolling out there with 2 5s a lot of the time, in the end, it didn't work with the way the rest of the league was going. And it hasn't worked for quite some time when the league's really trying to get to a more outside game in that power forward spot. I'm assuming that's probably the biggest reason why he wasn't on the list to be able to bring back this year as a 4 game.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And if you look back at the series between Perth and Melbourne, if you look at the second and third game in particular, the second halves, it was small ball. Right? Doolittle, Windler with the bigs, and I think Vico even went with 4 guards and Jack White at one stage. Yeah. And it's pretty exciting basketball. Like, it's up and down and it's pitch and catch, it's shoot, it's quick as hell. And that's, I'm not going to say the 5-man's redundant, he's not, but it's a really unique skill set. And what Ice gives us is a guy who can go up and down the floor. He's great with a really good one guard that's able to, hit him on short rolls and on the on balls. So, yeah, and that's probably, I've got to take it as that's the way I put it together with Trez last year. And I was like, well, we're doomed if we do and doomed if we don't, sort of thing. But, yeah, you can't have 2 5s. It just makes it too clunky, fortunately, now. And Trez is a 5, right? That's where he's at.
I'm fascinated to see how this roster builds out. As I said, you've started in an extremely good spot with that local talent and bringing in that local core and obviously getting Flynn, Cameron. And again, hearing now that 2 of the 3 imports are going to have that NBA connection. I know fans are going to be putting the list together saying, I want that one, I want that one. Yeah. When you see that all pop up in the comments, I'm not sure if you read the comments or someone else tells you, but obviously with those NBA guys who haven't been in the league maybe the last couple of years or maybe just falling out and the ones that are just beginning, and you see guys popping up names everywhere, do you sit back and just be like, oh, yep, that's someone we've spoke to. Oh, yep, that's someone I could see work out.
Yeah, no, you do. And, even just the season gone, I was a big Matt Hurt fan. And I thought, this is a bit of a diamond in the rough. And I was like, I think he could be okay, like watching him play. And then he comes in, he ends up almost winning MVP. Right. And he was a real thing. So there's a little bit of bittersweet in it. Like, you like to see the guy come out because you end up going, wow, I was right. He was good. It just wasn't for me with that. So, but yeah, you obviously looking at names and, I'm not the smartest guy in the room. There's other guys, around as well. And Wellesley knows a stack of people, and we just obviously go along and we look at these names and we put them through the grinder and we see what pops out at the end.
Man, looking forward to it. Good luck with it all. I don't envy you in these kind of situations, as we said. A lot of it is luck involved, and then a lot of it you judged on the success at the end of the season, not just what's happening now. So, mate, thank you so much. This was a fun chat, and good luck with everything.
Appreciate it, mate. Thank you. Take care.